Hello, everyone, and welcome again to a Monday edition of Blind Eye Live. I, of course, am your host, Hunter King, Blind Eye himself, owner proprietor of Blind Eye Media, a small internet media firm. And don't have a ton of plans for today's show. We're going to talk a little bit about some more of the European Super League and just some fallout. I can't remember if I mentioned or if I talked about the consequences for some of these teams that they're having to walk down. But another one of the clubs, Juventus, is still. Well, a few clubs have not given up on the Super League just yet. The England teams are out. The English teams are out. Atletico Madrid is out. Because there were like 12 teams and like 7 of them have already, I guess, pled guilty and are asking for forgiveness. With UEFA over that, but we'll get into that in a minute. As well, we've got some NFL and NBA headlines to go over. Just gonna hit some of those up today, and then who knows what the back half of the show is gonna be today. I have no idea at this point. There's no super interesting news stories going on at the moment for me to really talk about. The draft and most of the offseason is over. There are a couple little news bits that are interesting that I'm gonna hit, and we'll search and see what the headlines say on ESPN. After I get through the Super League stuff. But I don't know. I might go totally off script and do some kind of weird pop punk nostalgia rant. I don't know. So please join me for the ride that is today's show. I might start the show a little early tomorrow because I've got to be somewhere at 4:30. Your boy's got a singing gig tomorrow night, so let's pull up this article that I have already in place. Poor Juventus. I say poor Juventus, whatever. So Juventus face expulsion from Serie A if they don't withdraw from the European Super League. So the Italian Football Association president, Gabriele Gravina, said on Monday that Juventus faces expulsion if they don't withdraw from the Super League. The Bianconeri, for people who don't know Italian, that's the white and black, were one of 12 teams that joined forces. At least I believe that's the white and black. Or wait a second. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah, because Bianco is white and Neri or Nero is black. We're one of 12 teams in the Super League. The 6 English clubs, Chelsea, Manchester City, Manchester United, Tottenham, Liverpool, and Arsenal, withdrew within 2 days following fan pressure, which this is one of the things, you know what? It's there was legitimate. It's not like a lot of American sports and you have people on Twitter saying things, but it's not really the majority of fans' sentiments. People IRL, fans in the cities in massive numbers, pretty much all the fan clubs, really just tore off against this. So good on them for actually listening to the fans. I know I've been kind of making fun of fans and other people for it, but because I still think that this reaction is still ridiculously over the top, but whatever. Inter Milan and Atletico Madrid followed suit. So Inter has finally pulled out. And then I guess AC Milan has decided this is no longer an option. But Juve, along with Real Madrid and Barcelona, which, here's the thing. At this point, Juventus is the most important club in Italian soccer at this point. Sorry to AC and Inter, but your ships, they sailed a while back, and y'all haven't popped back yet. Like Napoli, Lazio, and Roma are arguably as important as the Milan clubs now. And Napoli's been consistently better than both of them. So, and there are no clubs in soccer, period, that are as important, apparently, as Barcelona and Real Madrid. So, I mean... But yeah, so anyway, sources have told ESPN that the trio face UEFA sanctions if they don't turn their back on the ESL, with the maximum punishment a 2-year ban from European competition, which would be the Champions and Europa Leagues. Which, it's not the worst thing, but it makes me wonder if they don't turn their back on the ESL, will they just continue to give them 2-year bans every 2 years or whatever? Who knows? I mean, the European Super League won't exist if there's not more than just these 3 teams, but it is just really weird to me. Well, and this is the big thing. So I find it hilarious that the UEFA's response to this entire calamity, or whatever, this Super League that's going to compete with them is like, well, these are the biggest teams. We need them in our competition. So, you know what we're going to do? We're going to punish these teams by banning them from our competitions. I mean, sorry, I've got to... Your plan to stop the biggest clubs in Europe from leaving your competition is to ban them from the competition. Are you stupid? Sorry if that was a little loud. But seriously, are you stupid? You're cutting your nose off to just spite your face. I know it'll show those guys from walking out the door. You're not allowed back in. For a little while. Like, please come back. I just... And we don't know what lesser punishments, like these British, or the British clubs, Atletico and Inter and AC are going to get because they've decided to turn back. But let's get back into this. Let me recenter the camera. Okay, so the rules are clear. Gravina told Radio Kiss Kiss Napoli. Radio Kiss Kiss. Gotta love Italy. if at the start of registration for next season, Juve are still a part of the Super League, they will not be allowed to participate in the Serie A. The rules are clear. What rules? Some rules you just arbitrarily made out of nowhere? Because, I don't see what this has to do with this competition or, your league competitions to begin with. On Saturday, Juve, Madrid, and Barcelona released a statement in which they criticized UEFA's threats over their decision to create the breakaway ESL. The 9 clubs that pulled out have been handed financial punishments by UEFA and have agreed to make a combined €15 million goodwill contribution to benefit youth and grassroots football across Europe, which, that's great. That donation. I wonder how much more each of them are actually paying UEFA, though. Because UEFA's made this about the traditions of soccer and the betterment of the game. The ESL is this thing that is terrible for European soccer. Well, actually, they said for global soccer, but to me, this is just greedy people being greedy. I don't know. It's just annoying. It's just stupid. And I get this. Obviously, they're breaking away because what they're doing is they're replacing the Champions League, or the idea is they're going to do something, instead of doing the Champions League, they're going to do their own version of it. Except it's going to be more like a league-style format than a championship knockout tournament or whatever. I don't know why it's the normal leagues, it's Italy's top division, the Serie A or the Serie A. The French League One, which none of the French teams were in it, so, but the Premier League, I don't understand why they thought, or why this would affect those. It doesn't make sense. Juve face a serious battle to qualify for next season's Champions League, as a 3-0 defeat at home to Milan left them in 5th place and 3 points off the top 4 with 3 matches remaining, which is a weird spot for them to be in. Why would I care about the top 25 WNBA players? I'm reading an article about Juventus, soccer, sports that people actually, large amounts of people actually care about. If they wanted to say, the women's college basketball players, that would even make, at least some sense. More people watch that than the WNBA. Let's see. So let's check the NFL headlines. Well, actually, I did have a couple headlines pulled up already. So let's see. Sources: Lindsey Gottlieb, returning to women's college basketball, hired as USC head coach after stint as Cleveland Cavaliers assistant. The Cavs had a chick on their assistant staff? That's cool. Never heard about her. She's agreed to a 6-year contract to become the women's head coach at USC. Gottlieb leaves the NBA after an aggressive USC pursuit, bringing her back to the Pac-12 conference, including a massive upgrade in program salary and resources, with the hopes of restoring USC to the top of women's college basketball. USC was once at the top of women's college basketball? When was that? Gottlieb was the first female head coach from a Power 5 conference to make the leap to the NBA sidelines, moving from the University of California to the Cavaliers. Well, that might be one reason I've never heard of her. She was the coach at Cal? I didn't even know, was Cal any good? Well, anyway, I just saw the headline. I'd never heard of like the coach. I was wondering what the story was, so that's cool. Carolina Panthers rookie first-round pick J.C. Horn is going to honor Kobe Bryant wearing the number 8 jersey using the new uniform rules. He was also the number 8 pick in the NFL draft, so pretty fitting. I don't know about other people, but I just love the Panthers jerseys. Those are good jerseys. Like, I really hope they don't change them. Because, like, some teams have changed their jerseys recently, and definitely for the worse. Like the Falcons. They're not bad jerseys, they just aren't as good as what they had. And I'm not a huge fan so far of the Bengals jerseys. Let's see. Seahawks receiver. Oh, yeah. So this happened over the weekend. DK Metcalf ran in a 100-meter track event for U.S. track and field. 10.37 seconds. Yeah, he finished 15th out of 17 people, but, like, the people he's racing against, like, their entire lives are track and field. Like, their entire lives are sprinting short distance. This man is a 200 and, like, I want to say he's like 227 and shredded. Like, if you watch the highlight, or like if you watch the race, because the race itself is a highlight, it's, over in, 10 seconds. Like, he towers over everyone. He's so much bigger than everyone else. I'm blind and I can pick him out instantly. The Seahawks wide receiver fared better than many expected for an NFL player competing against some of the world's top sprinters, which, I mean, that's true. With an official time of 10.37, Metcalf finished last among the 9 in his heat and 15th. Okay. So in his heat, he was 9th and 15th among 17. Because I was like, it didn't look like there were 17 people in his heat who competed in the USA Track and Field Golden Games and Distance Open in Walnut, California. Okay, so at first I read that, I'm like, there's a Walmart, California? Okay, that makes more sense. Oh, man. These are world-class athletes. So wait a second. So he was last in his heat of 9, but the heat of 8 had 2 guys that were slower than him. Sounds like they needed to rebalance the heats. American Isaiah Young had the lowest time of the field. Of the first 2 heats of the 100 with a 10.09. So, like, he was only 2.5 tenths off of, he was 28 hundredths of a second off of top time. That's not terrible. The 2 times Metcalf beat were a 10.38. Derek Silva of Brazil and 10.44 American Maurice Edie. Metcalf's performance drew praise on Twitter from fellow Seahawks teammates Wilson, Wagner, Lockett, and Quandre Diggs. I don't know. I thought that time was pretty impressive because, like, he's not doing this for a living. I was also off on his weight by 2 pounds. The fact, though, I was only off by 2 pounds off memory is actually pretty decent. Former Olympic sprinter Ato Bolden said on the broadcast beforehand that something in the range of 10.6 to 10.7 would be a good time for the 6'4", 229-pound Metcalf. He did not embarrass himself, Bolden said. Okay. Of Metcalf. He hung with the pack. Yes, I think he's 8th. But he ran well. I didn't think he was going to run anywhere near that well. I mean, geez. I mean, it almost seemed like a backhanded compliment. Let's see. Before Sunday, Metcalf hadn't competed in track and field since high school when he was a standout hurdler and long jumper, and also competed on Oxford High School's 4x100 meter relay team in Mississippi. He ran a 4.33 second 40-yard dash at the 2019 Scouting Combine, which was ridiculous. And he reached a top speed of 22.64 miles per hour when he chased down the Arizona Cardinals' Budda Baker to prevent him from scoring a defensive touchdown last October. That tackle was ridiculous, by the way. Because Budda Baker's not like, he's not track fast, but he's a pretty fast defensive back. It was the 4th fastest max speed by any NFL player on a single play last season. And I mean, you got to think he's running over 22.5 miles an hour with like helmet and pads on. Just ridiculous. So this was broadcast on that Peacock TV service of NBC. He wanted to test his speed against world-class athletes like this. He called the opportunity to do so a blessing. Asked why he wasn't afraid of the risk he could be taking by competing against professionals, Metcalf said, because I'm a football player and an athlete first and a man of God, so I just do things because I want to do it. I mean, that's a weird way of putting that. As a man of God myself, I don't necessarily do things just because I want to do it. But whatever. Da, da, da. Metcalf made the Pro Bowl last season after catching 83 passes for a franchise record 1,303 yards. He did have a ridiculously great season last year. Like, gosh. All right, so let's get back. Let's see what headlines we've got over here. There we go. Okay, so top of the list here. Jags expected to sign Tebow as a tight end, source says. Whoa, that's huge. Ooh, even bigger news. Eric Fisher to the Colts. I saw this over the weekend too. No freebie. Zach Wilson is saying that that the New York Jets starting quarterback job must be earned. Like he's not just walking into this as the starter, which is that's a great mindset. The Jets starting quarterback job is Zach Wilson's though. Like they don't have anybody else there I'd want taking that first snap of the year. Oh, and I definitely want to talk about this. So this happened late last week. I saw the headline Saturday. Former NFL defensive end Brandon Baer saves man after fiery train crash. So, Baer said he was driving on Highway 20 in St. Anthony, Idaho on Thursday when he saw a train plow into a semi-truck, triggering an immediate explosion. After calling 911, Baer was spurred into action after hearing a voice from inside the truck, which had caught fire following the crash. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to... There we go. It was a conscious decision that I'm going in because he needs help right now, Baer told East Idaho News. I ran up to the window. Let me move slightly. I ran up to the window and saw dripping hot flames all over inside of the truck. I could see a guy in a seatbelt and was able to reach in and get it off of him. He was talking, and I told him we had to get out of here now. Which, so this is a photo that I think, let's see, I think there's a caption beneath it. Yeah, so truck driver Stephen Jensen's legs are visible to the left in this photo, taken by Brandon Baer immediately after the ex-NFL player pulled Jensen to safety following a train truck crash off Highway 20 in Idaho. So, which, obviously, you're probably thinking, well, how'd the semi-truck get there if, there's no road there? Obviously, the train pushed the truck up the track. Some of you probably figure or realize that immediately, but I'm going to explain, and I'm explaining this for anyone listening to this later who's not really watching it. Yeah, that's just wild. And this was a semi-truck, by the way. That was a semi-truck. So let's see here. Baer said he climbed halfway into the wreckage and pulled 25-year-old Stephen Jensen out through a rear window between the passenger seat and the driver's seat. We walked away, and within seconds, the fire on the roof fell down inside, and the whole seat and cab went up in flames, Baer said. A few minutes later, there were a couple of big booms and explosions. Jensen was airlifted to an area hospital and was in stable condition as of Friday morning, according to hospital spokeswoman. Baer, 36, signed as an undrafted free agent with the Kansas City Chiefs in 2011 after a collegiate career at Oregon. He wanted to play for the Philadelphia Eagles and Oakland Raiders before retiring in 2015. And Baer's a big dude. If I'm remembering his measurements, he's somewhere between 6'5" and 6'7". He was a bigger guy. He was kind of like a hybrid DN tackle. I really liked him as a prospect. The issue was, as I read, he's 36. It's 2021. So he got drafted in 2011. Or he went undrafted in 2011. So he was 25. Or no. That would have been this time of year. So he was 26. So he was a little bit old for a prospect coming out of college. So he ended up going undrafted. I thought he was a really good player. Obviously, he only lasted in the league for a few years. But, if he'd had a longer NFL career, might not have been there to save that guy's life that day. So, kudos to Brandon Baer. Oh, if I can get that to close. There we go. All right. Let's see what this is. So, Jaguars are expected to sign Tim Tebow as a tight end. It looks like Tim Tebow is finally going to be playing for his hometown team, just not as a quarterback. Jaguars are expected to sign Tebow, 33, to a one-year contract later this week or next week to play tight end, a position he never played in high school, college, or in his previous 3-year NFL career. Sources confirmed to ESPN. A deal has not been signed or has not been agreed upon at this time. Once he signs, He'll be reunited with Jaguars coach Urban Meyer, who coached Tebow at Florida and won a pair of national championships for the Gators. Word leaked on the first. Well, there we go. Nope. Sorry, I'm trying to get this ad off the freaking screen. There we go. Word leaked on the first day of the 2021 NFL Draft that Tebow had worked out for the Jaguars as a tight end. Jaguars GM Trent Balky, I've always messed up his name, confirmed the workout, but said the team would worry about whether it would sign Tebow after the draft. Of course, picture of Tebow and Meyer from their time at Florida, which is crazy to think that was, 12 years ago, I think, was their last year together at Florida. Yeah, would have been the 2009 season. Was Tebow's senior year. Jaguars already have 5 tight ends on their roster. Chris Mannertz, James O'Shaughnessy, he's always been like a back-end tight end anyway. Luke Farrell, who they just drafted. Ben Ellefson, and Tyler Davis, who I believe was a converted wide receiver. Manhertz, who was signed in free agency, is a blocker who has 12 catches in 70 career games. Woo! O'Shaughnessy has 88 catches in 6 seasons with Kansas City and Jacksonville. Ellefson has 1 career catch, and Davis played in 8 games last season after the Jaguars selected him in the 6th round. Okay, I'm thinking of a different Tyler Davis then. Farrell was the team's 5th round pick this year. Tebow hasn't played football since the 2015 NFL preseason and has spent the past 6 years working as a broadcaster on the SEC Network and working on his professional baseball career. Tebow was adamant about remaining a quarterback during his 3 seasons. Well, yeah, because he'd played quarterback and been really successful at it. I get it. But apparently has had a change of heart now that Meyer is is running the Jaguars franchise. I know I'm reading a little bit of snideness in this, but the way ESPN has covered Tim Tebow has been nothing short of uncharitable and, at times, to me, borderline unprofessional. So, although they do that to a lot of people. Tebow grew up in Jacksonville and starred at Nice High School before signing with Meyer and Florida in December 2005. Chris Leak was the starting quarterback in 2006, but Tebow got plenty of action as a short yardage specialist and threw 33 passes to help the Gators win the national championship, including some famous ones. Of course, the jump pass, and he had this really awesome play-action pass that he threw. It was like a 40-something yard or so play in a short yardage situation. That was kind of similar to the jump pass, except he didn't jump, and it was way further away from the goal line. Tebow became the starter in 2007. He threw for 3,286 yards and 32 touchdowns and ran for 895 yards and 23 touchdowns to become the first sophomore to win the Heisman Trophy. Yeah, his 2007 season was stupid. For those of you who would like the math done for you, that's almost 4,400 yards of total offense and 55 total touchdowns. Just incredible. Then he led the Gators to the 2008 National Championship. Florida went undefeated in the regular season in 2009 before losing to Alabama in the SEC championship game. Also, the Gators did lose a game early in the 2008 national championship winning season. And they were down in he just did this press conference after the game where he said, we're not going to lose again this year. Like, just this really, like, moving and motivational press conference pep talk after the game. And that 2009 Gator team got beat by Alabama team that won that national championship that year that had a ton of NFL talent on it, including Julio Jones, Mark Ingram, Trent Richardson. Yeah. That was the Alabama team that beat Texas. Tebow finished his Florida career as the SEC's all-time leader in rushing touchdowns, 57, touchdown responsibility, 145. So that's like passing, rushing, receiving, return, like whatever, touchdowns. Basically like total touchdowns. And passer efficiency, 170.8, which, once again, was he truly an elite passer? No. But he gets talked about like he was a run first, run second, run third quarterback. The guy could throw the football. He still holds the first two records, but has since been passed by Tua Tagovailoa, Joe Burrow, and Mac Jones in the last category, which the only three quarterbacks had a better career pass efficiency in SEC history than Tim Tebow. Not Peyton Manning, not Eli Manning, none of Steve Spurrier's quarterbacks. But Tua, Burrow, and Jones, who in the last two NFL drafts were drafted number 6 for Tua, number 1 for Burrow, and 15th overall for Mac Jones. Tebow was a quarterback, and a dang good one. Let's see. Then Jaguars owner Wayne Weaver called Tebow an iconic figure in September 2009 as Tebow was beginning his final season at Florida. There was a push among some in Jacksonville for the Jaguars to draft Tebow, but the Jaguars took defensive tackle Tyson Alualu 10th overall in the 2010 draft, who has gone on to have a nice NFL career, arguably peaking the last few seasons while in Pittsburgh, but his career has nowhere been close to worthy of being drafted 10th overall. Denver drafted Tebow 25th overall in 2010. He started only 3 games that season, but started both playoff games. Wait a second. He started more than 3 games that season? Actually, I'm actually a little borderline confused here. That's not right. I'm trying to, because I thought he became the starter, like halfway through the season or so. And if you include the playoffs, his like record as a starter was like 7-4, or 7-5, or something like that, or 8-5. He started more than 3 games. Anyway, he connected with Demaryius Thomas on an 80-yard catch and run touchdown in overtime to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in a wild card playoff game. Completed only 9 of 26 passes for 132 yards the following week in a 45-10 loss to New England because that New England team was really, really good. Yeah. Okay. I was thinking of 2011. Well, wait. Yeah, so this is wrong. I'm pretty sure this is wrong. So those playoff statistics, I'm pretty sure were from the 2011 season. That wasn't 2010. I'm actually about to go look this up because that bothers me. Anyway, it doesn't matter what happened. The big news story is it seems like the Jaguars are going to sign Tim Tebow to be their quarterback. But you know what? I'm going to go... Let's do this real quick because I'm pretty sure ESPN got some of that wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. No, I didn't want Pro Football Talk. Sorry, sometimes I'll type in a start to talk in or type in a. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. So we're going to type in Tim Tebow. Oh, I thought. So I type it in and I see, oh, Tebow. And it's in the thing. So I'm thinking, oh, well, cool. So let's look at Tim Tebow's stats. Like seasonal stats. Because I'm pretty sure. Let's see. Probably ought to check the chat. Okay, no one's been in chat. So yeah, so 2010 started 3 games. 2011 he started 11. And his completion percentage was terrible. Sub 50. Let me see. Do we have playoff stat? Where's his playoff stats? Okay. Let's go. Not sure. Okay. Let's go playoffs. Okay. Okay, that's aggregated. Well, I don't want the aggregated. Okay, there it was. It was up at the top and I was being blind. Yeah, I'm right. Wait. So yeah, so that's 2011. Started 11 games, going 7-4. And that's the 2011 playoffs. Which I would assume they're doing that based off the 2011 season. You know what? I'll use another player for reference. Let's use a player who played in this year's playoffs. Let's use Patrick Mahomes. So we scroll down here. I just realized my head was in the way of where like the year would be. So let's see. So 2017, 18, 19, 2020. And then let's go down and find his playoffs passing. And yeah, so ESPN got it wrong. And this is the kind of crap. And maybe this was just an oversight, but I don't think it was an actual oversight. This is just they do a shoddy job when it comes to Tim Tebow. This is just what they do. So I'm going to scroll down. So we went to Pro Football Reference. Pro Football Reference has their stuff together. They accurately represent stats. So here we are. They're talking about the 2010 season, his rookie year. They did not go to the playoffs that year. They didn't. In 2011, he goes 7-4 as a starter. They started off the year with Kyle Orton as the starting quarterback. Because Tim Tebow wasn't good enough. They started 1-4. They start him for the last 11 games of the season. They go 7-4 and make the playoffs as the final wild card team. They go into a matchup with the Steelers, and no one gave them a shot at being the Steelers, and he has the best game of his life. I want to say he threw for well over 300 yards, although part of that is including the 80-yard catch and run touchdown. But the throw was perfect on the play. Actually, it was such a great throw that the guy who was doing ESPN Sports Science at the time, actually did an entire segment about how perfect the throw was. Because Thomas, who had elite speed, didn't have to slow down because the ball was perfectly placed for him to just grab it on the run. He didn't have to stretch out or reach back or anything, so he was able to keep full speed and keep accelerating up the field to his top speed, leaving the Pittsburgh corner and safety who were, basically he was in their coverage on the play. It was just a perfect throw. Of course, the New England game was bad, but that was after the 2011 season, not the 2010 rookie season. So, who wrote this article? Michael DeRocco. There's your Jacksonville Jaguars beat writer. He can't even do, that's simple research. Simple. So anyway, big news, but once again, ESPN can't do anything right. And this is a big story today. So last week, Alejandro Villanueva went from the Steelers to the Ravens. He was the top tackle on the market, and kind of a little bit of a downer for other teams that were looking for a veteran, plug-in starting offensive tackle. Well, the Colts got this arguably the second best tackle on the market. They reached a deal with ex-Kansas City Chiefs offensive tackle Eric Fisher. If he can stay healthy, they do have a solid starting left tackle for this next season. It is a 1-year, $9.4 million deal. There is no doubting Fisher's playing ability, as the 2013 number 1 overall pick has started 113 of the 117 games he's appeared in since entering the NFL. The question that remains is when Fisher will actually play in a game for the Colts. He suffered a torn Achilles in the AFC Championship game against the Buffalo Bills earlier this year. Fisher also missed half of the 2019 season with a core muscle injury. And that's the big thing. He tore his Achilles, and he was selected to his second career Pro Bowl last season. Fisher struggled early in his career, which is true. But in recent years, he has begun to live up to at least some of the potential the Chiefs saw in him in 2013. And he He was a controversial number 1 overall pick. He was a left tackle coming out of Central Michigan. Although that Central Michigan program had some talent kind of come through it in recent years and had a couple of big-name coaches springboard to bigger jobs off of that job. Let's see. Fisher has a relationship with Colts general manager Chris Ballard. Ballard was in Kansas City's front office when Fisher was selected. The hope, according to a source, is that Fisher will have recovered from his Achilles injury by September. It's a tight window. But the team isn't putting a timeline on his return. Once healthy, Fisher will join an offensive line that features Pro Bowl center Ryan Kelly, All-Pro left guard Quentin Nelson, right guard Mark Glowinski, and right tackle Braden Smith. Left tackle has been a position of need for the Colts since veteran Anthony Costanzo retired in January. They didn't use any of their early picks on offensive tackles because the staff wasn't as high on this year's draft class. Maybe they'll turn out to be correct, but I think that they're insane. Indianapolis didn't select an offensive lineman until the 7th round of the draft. It signed Sam Tevy, who was with the Chargers last season in free agency, and was so great that they let him walk, and Chargers fans were not sad to see him go. Anytime you have a player like Anthony Costanzo retire, it's a need. And we signed some guys in free agency who we think are pretty good football players. But saying that, it just didn't match up at that point in the draft. I'd be honest, how many true left tackles were left in the draft? I don't have the number exactly, but prototypically, some of these guys, maybe they end up playing left tackle. We'll see if they end up staying there their whole careers. But if you're going to draft a guy that high and you're drafting him to play left tackle, you'd like to know that he's going to be able to do it for his whole career. He said a lot of words there. He didn't. That was just nothing. He just said a lot of nothing. He doesn't think there's that many. He didn't think there were that many left tackles in this class. He had one on the board. Christian Darrisaw was a top 15 guy, as far as I'm concerned. You had Darrisaw staring you in the face at your pick, and you drafted Kwity Paye, who I think is overrated. He has great tools, but I didn't like him as good as... There were half a dozen guys I liked better that went later. And you had a chance to get Christian Darrisaw. Yeah, I don't get it. Unless you are just really, really narrow on your definition of what a franchise left tackle is. Whatever. So let's move over some NBA stuff. Oh, yeah, so over the weekend, before I get into that, Steph Curry had another insane game. So Bradley Beal, who he's fighting for the scoring title, dropped 50 points Saturday. So Steph Curry decides, you know what? I'll just drop 49 points in 3 quarters and call it a night. He made 10 or 11 three-pointers in 29 minutes. Like, Steph Curry's just on it. And speaking of Beal, Beal is going to miss at least 2 games with a hamstring injury. Anthony Davis on challenge to avoid dropping into the play-in. It's been fun. Yeah, I'm sure it is. NBA ref Brown has cancer to miss rest of season. Oh, that sucks. Hate to hear anyone get cancer. Let's see. Okay, what does J. Cole, the rapper, playing hoops in Africa have to do with the NBA? Nothing. So apparently it's a slow news day. Super slow news day. Will this be the greatest duel in NBA scoring title history? Well, it will be if Bradley Beal's able to, get healthy again for the rest of the season. There's only a few games left. Also, I don't care what anyone says. Those Raptors jerseys right there. Super, super good. I love those. Apparently Bobby Marks has got a write-up of how they should approach their offseason. This final edition of the Miami Vice jerseys, they're nice, but I don't like them as much as the previous editions. Let's see. Oh, yeah, Luka got thrown out of the game because he low-blowed Colin Sexton. And he's a technical away from getting suspended. And he needs to do whatever he can to get that technical before the regular season's over, so that he gets suspended a game during the regular season instead of in the playoffs. Also, Luka needs to stop whining like a little child. Actually, how about I just put that for pretty much every NBA player? Stop whining like children. Now, the refs do some stupid crap. But, maybe they wouldn't be as terrible at their jobs if, they didn't have reason to just want to just ruin your day because you're all a bunch of crying little girls. Or boys. I guess little boys cry, especially nowadays. Oh yeah, and I saw an article on ESPN's front page on Sunday. I was kind of looking down through stuff, and I saw this thing, and they're doing this thing in honor of Mother's Day. But I saw this thing across. I saw Megan Rapinoe's face on it. I'm like, she's not a mom. Like what? Like Candace Parker, WNBA MVP while being a mom, awesome. Megan Rapinoe's not a mom. She didn't have anything to do with Mother's Day. Stupid. Let's see. What about college highlights? Kentucky wide receiver coach Bo Knight charged with DUI. Good job, idiot. Hope you had to rot in jail for a few nights. Or at least one. Oh, and I found this out Saturday. I saw this. Tennessee Volunteers top tackler Henry 2020, my favorite player on our defense, is transferring to Alabama. I get it. Like, the people who recruited you are gone, this, and that, whatever. Take the opportunity to go to a winning program. But you went to Alabama? It's literally our biggest historical rival. Like, you could have chosen anywhere other than Bama and Florida. maybe Georgia. That'd been fine. But Bama, you traitor. His stats should be stricken from our books. He didn't exist. NCAA president seeks name, image, and likeness action before or near July 1st. We'll look at that. Michigan's linguist hired as Buffalo head coach. The guy's last name, linguist? Like, your last name is... That's a weird last name. That sounds like an interesting story. Boom. Saban encourages vaccinations in new PSA. I wonder how much he got paid. And there's a lawsuit against the University of Iowa. Let's see. Parts of lawsuit brought by I talked about this. Former black football players against Iowa allowed to proceed. Parts, not all, so that's interesting. Let's see. Des Moines, Iowa. A federal lawsuit brought by a group of former Iowa football players alleging staff members mistreated black players will move forward. But all or parts of some of the allegations were thrown out Thursday. Offensive coordinator Brian Ferentz and former strength coach Chris Doyle remain the focal points of the lawsuit filed in Iowa's Southern District. The former players allege they were demeaned with racial slurs, forced to abandon black hairstyles, fashion, and culture to fit the Iowa way, promoted by head coach Kirk Ferentz, and retaliated against for speaking out. I mean, I was forced when playing sports, and for certain things, and I know people who for certain jobs have to have their hair cut and they can't have facial hair or other things. Like when I was in high school, we weren't allowed to have facial hair because only adults apparently are allowed to have facial hair. So we don't get confused for a teacher. Because, me, a 5'5", I was 5'5" as a freshman. I think I was 5'7" when I graduated. Because me as a 5'7" senior with like a stash, like a thin beard and stash with a super baby face, totally gonna look like a teacher. Not that they were, some teachers were heavy on it. But, like, I had to cut my hair one time, or when I was younger, I used to have long hair. I had to cut my hair. What was it for again? Oh, yeah. So when I was in middle school, I had to cut my hair for a basketball league because of just some dumb rule for being in that league. Like, people sometimes tell you to do things for, like, whatever reason. I don't know. You could have transferred out of the program. Like, that stuff's, like, kind of dumb. Like, abandoned black hairstyles. They probably were just told to, like, keep their hair under a certain length. And there's a strategic reason for that. Because you can get your hair, like, dreads and long hair that comes out from under your helmet. I had a coach who encouraged me when I was playing football to not let my hair get so long that it could be grabbed. Because there's nothing illegal about grabbing a dude and pulling him down by his hair. It's also, and that's dangerous for you too, getting grabbed down by your hair might not be illegal, but it can lead to knee injuries and stuff like that. Fashion, yeah, I'm sure. Well, we'll see. There's a lawsuit going on. And culture to fit the Iowa way. I'm sure you weren't told to just I don't know. This seems really weird. The university agreed to pay Doyle $1.1 million in a resignation agreement last June after Scores is a overselling it. Former players said on social media that he had bullied and discriminated against them. Doyle has denied the allegations. From what I understand, Doyle was as a strength and conditioning coach, he really pushed people. But if you're going to say he bullied them, he bullied everyone. An investigation by an outside law firm later found the program's rules perpetrated racial and cultural biases and diminished the value of cultural diversity and allowed coaches to demean players without consequence. But it doesn't, and I read that entire thing, it didn't say demean players racially or demean certain types of people. It just meant players in general. And I'm going to say this about football in particular because I know a lot about the history. So a lot of, especially the early days of the sport, do you know who the best teams were in the country or a lot of the best teams in the country during the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s? Army, Navy, and a lot of the schools, coaches, many of them had military backgrounds. Texas A&M, which has a really old football program. A&M used to be a cadet school. They have the largest non-military like ROTC and like cadet program. Out of the non-military academy universities. So football has in a lot of the best coaches like General Robert Neyland, who was a colonel during World War II. He was part of the same West Point class as General Eisenhower, who was, orchestrated D-Day, was the chief commander of Allied forces in Europe during World War II, and went on to be president of the United States. Same West Point class. And a lot of discipline and a lot of modern coaching techniques, or should I say philosophy, from that time period came from General Neyland. Coach Newt Rockne, who held the record for most championships won by a coach, or at least in the modern era, credited General Neyland as being the greatest football coach who ever lived. Newt Rockne's words, not mine. So when I see demean, there has been over years, and I had coaches like this too. They will get a little aggressive with you. That's not always a bad thing. Some people need to have discipline. I'm not going to use the term beat into them as in physically beat, because I've never been physically assaulted by a coach, nor have I ever seen that happen. But I've been berated by a coach for doing something wrong when he had just fully explained what I was supposed to do to me. And then I didn't make the mistake again because it was seared into my mind. It works. But we'll see what this lawsuit or what findings they have. Because I saw some of these the accusations, and I'm sitting here like, because once again, perpetrated racial and cultural biases and diminished the value of cultural diversity. So here's the thing. If you're creating the culture of a workplace environment, like what you want to see out of people, like what the ideal member of that environment, like how they're going to work is. There is no cultural diversity. This is the culture we have. This is our culture for success. And Iowa has had a very successful football program under Kirk Ferentz. Have they won a national title? No. But they have been consistently good, and they put out a lot of really great talent. Great football players. Sound, fundamental football players. Now, if they went over the line, like Doyle, from what I understand, did use some racial slurs and do some just stuff like when they describe some of these things, I'm like, it's just cringy. I don't think he was necessarily trying to be mean. It's because some of the things they described, it's like, yeah, he was trying to be funny and it fell on its face because he wasn't funny. But, like, asking people to, like, have their hair cut certain kind of ways, like not allowing you to wear your hair long or whatever. Like, the Yankees do that, or at least they've done that in the past. I know, like, especially when Hank was alive, you know, Johnny Damon, who was, like, a wild man, particularly, like, with the Red Sox, with, like, you know, super long hair and a beard. He cut his hair and shaved his beard when he joined the Yankees. That was just a thing. That's how the Yankees did things. That's how the Yankees presented themselves. Do I think it's a little silly? Yeah. But, like, that's their culture. It's like if a football program, like, say, Iowa, if they want to institute, like, a culture of oneness, now, if they were saying you're not allowed to listen to rap music, like, in your personal time or whatever, that's, you know, like, that would be across the line. That wasn't what I was hearing. In her order, U.S. District Judge Stephanie Rose released Athletic Director Gary Barta and current strength coach Raymond Braithwaite as defendants. Well, yeah. Was Braithwaite on the staff under Doyle? Let's see. Former players Aaron Mins, Brandon Simon, Jayon Foy, Akram Wadley. Now I know who Wadley is. Marcel Jolie, Jonathan Parker, and Darian Cooper will be allowed to pursue claims of intentional discrimination by Brian Ferentz and Doyle. Wadley is the only one of these guys that I recognize the name of. Wadley was a really great running back. Foy, Mins, and Simon also can proceed with an allegation of the program having a racially hostile environment. The judge threw out an allegation that Mins was retaliated against for complaining about or supporting teammates' claims of racially discriminatory conduct. Which I saw that allegation. It was pretty flat. Also dismissed were allegations that Iowa created and maintained a systemic pattern and prejudice of unlawful race discrimination that Kirk Ferentz failed to train and supervise his staff, and a claim of breach of contract between the players and the Ferentzes and Doyle. And I would imagine the judge wouldn't have thrown those things out if there was compelling evidence, or at least somewhat compelling evidence. We'll see how this trial goes or any of these cases go anywhere, although that'll take time. Let's see. The Buffalo Bulls named Michigan's Maurice Linguist new head coach. Linguist, a former assistant for the Bulls, arrived in Michigan in January as part of the team's defensive staff overhaul. A former Baylor safety, he coached defensive backs for the Dallas Cowboys in 2020 after college stints with Texas A&M, Minnesota, Mississippi State, and Iowa State. He coached Buffalo's defensive backs in 2012 and 2013. So he got hired on as Michigan's co-defensive coordinator in January, and now he's already leaving for Buffalo. He replaces Lance Leipold, who was hired last week to be the new coach at Kansas. After 6 seasons in Buffalo, Leipold went 24-10 with 2 MAC East Division titles in the past 3 years. Yeah, they've been a really good program. Leipold, as far as I'm concerned, took a step down in job because I don't care that Kansas is in the Big 12. That's where football goes to die. Also, it's just weird having the last name Linguist. Like, that's a profession. Okay, so let's see. Arrest warrants filed for former Oklahoma football players Seth McGowan, Trajan Bridges. Let's see what these are for. Arrest warrants were filed in Cleveland County on Friday on former Oklahoma football players Seth McGowan and Trajan Bridges on felony charges of robbery, conspiracy, and assault and battery with a dangerous weapon. Every weapon is dangerous. The heck kind of statue is that? A weapon, by definition, is dangerous. Man, laws are weird. According to court documents obtained by ESPN, Coach Lincoln Riley said Thursday that the players were no longer on the roster, telling reporters they're not members of our program anymore. On April 15th, police responded to multiple 911 calls from an apartment complex in Norman at about 11 p.m. According to a probable cause affidavit, the victim told police that McGowan contacted him via Snapchat to purchase marijuana, was told no, but proceeded to the victim's apartment anyway. When the victim opened the door, a man he recognized as McGowan allegedly stepped in and was acting strange with his right hand up his shirt. The victim asked if McGowan had a gun, and 2 other men, including Bridges, allegedly entered. The victim said he grabbed McGowan and pulled him to the floor and was struck on the head with a gun and kicked multiple times. So to me, that's assault with a deadly weapon. Like, I've heard of assault with a deadly weapon, never a dangerous weapon. He alleged that Bridges pointed a .45 Glock with an extended magazine at him. Well, I can understand how someone expected it to, or would assume it was a .45, or it was a Glock with an extended magazine, because there aren't too many handguns you see or people with extended mags. You can get them for just about anything, but it could have been any kind of handgun. It didn't even have to be a .45, but Anyway, maybe this guy knows a lot about firearms. Maybe he owns one himself. With an extended magazine, and threatened to shoot and kill him. Okay. To me, that sounds like... once again, what are they charged with? Battery. Assault and battery with a dangerous weapon. I would also think armed robbery, but it also depends on like where you are and how they have their laws coded. Conspiracy, because it's multiple people conspiring to commit criminal behavior. The third suspect, still unidentified, allegedly stole a backpack from his room with items including jewelry, marijuana, high-dollar shoes, and cash. The victim alleged that Bridges said he would come back and kill him if he got up before 10 minutes had passed. So, time for them to get far enough away that he wouldn't see where they're going, and the police wouldn't be able to find him quickly. The affidavit states that a search warrant executed on April 16th at Bridges' apartment located a gun matching the description of the one used in the robbery. What a genius. Attorneys for both players have denied the allegations. I'm sorry. I feel like these guys got caught in 4K. After the 2019 season, Bridges tested positive for marijuana and was one of 3 Oklahoma players suspended before the Peach Bowl. That suspension lasted until the 2010 Big 12 championship game, and he finished the season with 2 catches for 19 yards in a 55-20 win over Florida in the Cotton Bowl. So you mean this man was suspended basically the entire season? I like Lincoln Riley. Whew. McGowan had 58 catches for 370 yards and 3 touchdowns last season. Guess McGowan's a tight end? Because those are low yardage totals. Bridges 2019 and McGowan 2020 were both 4-star recruits from the Dallas area. So Bridges was a sophomore. McGowan was a freshman last year. So these are underclassmen. I guess Bridges was about to be an upperclassman, but still. Freaking idiots. I mean, and I see all the people who want to complain about, you know, name and image likeness rights and all this stuff. Like, to me, I'm seeing, or how college athletes are mistreated. These guys are, not all of them, obviously, but I just see, like, all these reports of, like, scholarship football players doing stupid crap, robbing people, doing all this other stuff, and I'm like, you think name and image likeness stuff is going to change all that? It's not. These guys are getting a free ride to go to college, and this is what they're doing. And you know what? Do I feel super bad for the guy who got robbed at gunpoint? I mean, yes, like that his life was threatened over marijuana and physical things, but, you know, maybe don't sell weed and you don't end up in these situations. Although I don't think these guys did it as revenge for him saying, no, I'm not going to sell you any weed or whatever. I think these guys were planning on robbing him anyway. So there's that. Oh, yeah, that's my YouTube channel. So I've gone a little over an hour, and don't really have any more like sports news or takes really. So, but let's pad the stream out a little bit. So, I don't know about anybody else, but and let's switch gears for a minute. Has anybody noticed like this big like wave of like pop punk nostalgia that seems to be taking over culture recently? Which I'm definitely not the first person to talk about it, but I'm just seeing like all these memes involving like "Dear Maria, Count Me In" and uh, yeah, that's the name of the song. Sorry, and just a lot of like popular musicians are doing like this kind of new wave of pop punk. Like Machine Gun Kelly went from a rapper and now he's writing like pop punk songs. Um, you've got like Young Bloods, people like that. It's just kind of interesting to see that come around because like I remember like when the pop punk scene like really took off when I was like a kid. You had like the first wave of it like huge pop punk stuff, which was like Blink 182, Simple Plan, Good Charlotte, like that kind of stuff. And then like you had like Newfound Glory, which they were kind of like borderline easy core, or really were kind of easy core, but I'd consider them pop punk. And then you had like that kind of next wave that hit starting the mid 2000s with Fall Out Boy, Paramore, um, I guess My Chemical Romance were kind of a pop punk band if you really think about it, especially like Black Parade. Um, I mean, there were a ton of bands. The Academy is. How am I blanking on their name? Oh my goodness. Panic at the Disco. Like their first album was historic and legendary and all that. All American Rejects, all that kind of stuff. I remember like that being big, and there was like the neon wave that came after them with like the main Mayday Parade. Um, oh my goodness, I can't believe I'm blanking on their name. The band that did Dear Maria, All Time Low, like those bands. That was like the neon wave. We the Kings, who did Check Yes Juliet, which I hated that song, but whatever. Boys Like Girls, that was a better version of kind of like that style. Well, it either was really good or so corny that I wanted to vomit, but I don't know. Hero Heroine was a great song. Don't at me. Um, but yeah, like I love the pop, or I used to love like a lot of that stuff. I mean, I was also listening to heavier stuff than that because I was a little more of a core kid, so I was more into like I guess during that same time of like the mid to late 2000s, it was like for me, Killswitch Engage was my favorite band. You had like Bullet for My Valentine, All That Remains. You had like the early, um, oh, I guess you would say, oh yeah, Parkway Drive, August Burns Red, um, Bring Me the Horizon, like early Bring Me the Horizon, which was like they were deathcore in the beginning. For all you youngins who are like Bring Me the Horizon fans, go listen to their their old stuff. It's so much better. Not that I dislike the new stuff, but I do like the older stuff better. Because like their second full length album, Suicide Season, was freaking amazing. I mean, just that song had banger after banger after banger on it. The Come Down, Chelsea Smile, um, Diamonds Aren't Forever. Um, what was it? They did a. Bring Me the Horizon had on that song. They did a collab with the lead singer for Architects. I think it was called "The Sadness Will Never End." It was my favorite. That or "Chelsea Smile" were my two favorite songs of the album. And then the title track was the last song, "Suicide Season," and it was, you want to talk about a really awesome, like, put together song. That's a really killer song to end a show off on. That was a good one. But anyway, like, back on the pop punk thing, I was a little more into the heavier stuff and like the early kind of rise-core bands, like, or crabcore bands like Attack Attack, Ask Alexandria. Although that stuff kind of came right after the neon pop punk wave started to hit, but whatever. It was all, middle school and high school for me. Like, I miss those days when pop punk was like arguably the most popular stuff. Because, like, when I was in middle school, early high school, like, everyone was a Fall Out Boy fan. Everyone loved Panic at the Disco. Everything was super fun. The music to me was, like, the lyrics were more accessible than, like, most of, like, trash popular music nowadays. Like, not that there weren't songs about, like, different topics from different bands, but, like, everything wasn't illicit or explicit, like, not every, like, WAP wasn't a thing. People weren't, it's like, yes, there was hip-hop that was like that, but, like, I'm not interested in listening to a bunch of stuff where, like, for radio, you have to literally bleep out, like, anywhere from 20 to 80% of the words in a song. Like, it seems like where a lot of modern rap has gone. Like, I don't want to listen to a bunch of songs about, people talking about having sex and how they have sex. I don't care about that. You know what pop punk was about? Hanging out with your friends. Yeah, maybe it was writing about songs about girls and stuff, but I mean, it was different. It wasn't as like I said, it wasn't as explicit. It was stuff that was more relatable. Like, I'm sorry, but there was no one at our high school that was rolling around in gold chains with tons of money, living the rock star lifestyle or rap star lifestyle or doing whatever. So it's kind of cool to see like that, or to see pop punk kind of coming back, especially after we had that like 6-year run where like, what does Finn McKenty of Punk Rock NBA call it? Sad boy pop punk, which was, I didn't like that genre. Those were the Defend pop punk days. If you ever saw anyone with like a Defend pop punk shirt that had like an AK or an AR-15, like, and then Defend pop punk on it, like, that was those years. That was when like all the lyrics were like yelling, screaming, borderline, and it was like a bunch of people who like were around it was like a bunch of people like who wanted to be hardcore but were honestly too emo and soft to really be hardcore. I'm joking. I'm joking a little bit there. Because I'm definitely like, because I straddled those two scenes in high school, like the heavy scene and like the fun scene, because they were both great. That's why Risecore was so much fun. It was like someone merged like heavy music with like more fun. That's what like Attack Attack did, as far as I was concerned. But yeah. Anyway. I'm so excited to see some of this like stuff back. Not that I listen to a ton of the new stuff. I'm just glad to like see it. Some of it's for nostalgia, but it's also fun music. Like, as far as I'm concerned, like, it's way easier to listen to than like most, as far as, in my opinion, than most like hip hop and rap, and even pop music. Like, I don't know, like, pop's always been boring to me. Like, because I do like stuff that's a little more extreme, more energetic. I like stuff that is more obvious, like instrumental type stuff. Not that I don't mind samples or like all electronic music or stuff like that, but I personally enjoy playing music, and I like watching people perform and play stuff that, man, I could only dream of playing, or maybe I end up learning to play it. Like, because I've played in bands, there's stuff that I can cover, but, I can't play what Periphery plays, which obviously they're not a pop punk band, but still. Point is, like, I like seeing people playing their instruments, like making the music right there, like able to do it themselves and reproduce it. That's cool to me. Like, I enjoy that. And, because Finn's talked a lot about some of these more modern versions of music. Like, you've got this new pop punk wave. You've got, like, this trap metal wave. And I'm not super into it. Because, like, I'm not really into, I was never into trap house anyway, so why would I like super heavy trap house music or that style? Like, that's not my thing. And it doesn't have to be. And Finn could say that people like that are holding the scene back, whatever. I don't care. I'm sorry that my sports talk has gone into music, but I had more time, and I kind of do have other interests other than sports. I might make this into another stream that I do on the channel, like once every so often, like on a random evening or whatever here and there. So, but anyway, and if y'all have noticed, like on my show and in my content, I will mention other YouTubers because I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube, and a lot of their commentary is really cool. I like their ideas. I make my own. It's like I have my own opinions. I create my own opinions, my own takes. But like anyone who's not looking around and challenging their own opinions or finding other people who have expertise and trying to learn from them or see what they're seeing to add different perspective, I think you're a crazy person. Should you be constantly following other people, like as in just following and just taking every word everyone says, like, and just believing it or accepting it as being true or whatever? No, but allowing for the sharpening or shaping of your opinion is something you should do. Absolutely. So anyway, I like Finn, and I love a lot of his content, and I think he does a really good job of covering certain things. I think sometimes he gets a little too, or he brings a little too much of social commentary into it, but that's whatever. It's his channel. He can do what he wants. I don't always agree with some of his social criticisms or whatever, but I do respect, his own, like, experience, like life experiences. But I just, for him, like, he wants this marketable package. Like, this stuff is more marketable. There's more people listening to this, so, like, the metal establishment and metal fans really need to see that this is where things are going, and that this stuff is big, and this could, save the genre. And I'm sitting here like, if that's going to save the genre, I don't like it, so I don't want it. Like, and do I have to want it or like it? Like, I don't understand. Like, if you're worried about metal dying, if metal dies because people don't like metal anymore, then I guess it just dies. But I would rather listen to Periphery or Dance Gavin Dance and what's going on in, like, the Swancore scene. I'm okay with not being the most popular show in town. I'm okay with being, like, more of a niche thing. I'm okay with that. Now, I don't want to be non-inclusive of people. I want more people to listen to the stuff I like. But I want more people to listen to the stuff I like. I'm not going to proselytize this other stuff. Now, maybe he sees it as a gateway, and it could be, but if it was, it's not doing anything for what it's supposed to be a gateway to, in my opinion. And it's not because metal fans don't seem to be, like, huge fans of it. Or maybe it is, but maybe there's a reason that trap metal and, like, this stuff, and I'm trying to remember some examples because I don't really listen to a lot of this stuff, but that's like what's his name? Ghostface or Ghostmane. I think another guy's name's Bones. There's one guy who's like really big. And so like basically what trap metal is for anyone who's not aware, think of it as like like kind of heavier trap music with like screamed and yelled like vocals. Like it's really kind of raw and intense. That's what this kind of what people are calling trap metal, and we're kind of in the 2.0 wave of it at this point. Because it hit like several years ago, the first wave, and then it kind of seemed like it had kind of peaked and even, and now you've got a lot of people, and you've got a lot of these guys are doing collabs with like guys from like almost like the early 2000s and stuff. Like you've got people collabing with a couple of the guys from Korn. I wish I could remember some of these examples that Finn gave and some others that I've seen. I think a couple of them have actually done like crossovers with some more modern kind of like deathcore type, deathcore and hardcore type bands. But I don't know. I'm not into it. I'm way more into this new wave of pop punk than like this new kind of like trap metal thing. Because like there's probably a reason. And Finn states that he thinks a component of it is racial. And I don't necessarily think that's really that huge of a component of it. I mean, just like in everything, I'm guarantee you there are racist metal fans because there are racists probably that are interested in just about any and everything. There are bad people who do things that you like or that are into things that you like. I'm sorry. Like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, I'm sure there's a racist that enjoys it. That doesn't mean that they make up a massive amount of the community, nor does that mean, or is that a factor in why people don't like the music? Because I'm just going to be honest. Like, the reason I don't like modern rap is not because I don't like black people, because I don't have, like, racial biases in those ways. Like, I don't think of people in that kind of manner. I don't treat people differently or judge them just because, oh my goodness, their skin color's different. Because that's stupid. But I don't like modern rap music because of most of the content of the lyrics. And because I prefer to listen to guitars and drums and stuff. And and I mean, just stuff like that, that's what I like. Like, it's just a difference of, like, of, like, musical taste. And I think that's what most people that's the biggest thing with the whole trap metal thing is still. And once again, I hear the argument that, yes, most modern metal, we use sampling is used in the recording process, so it's not really what he's playing. That's part of the way to a good argument. That's a decent argument, but it's not really a good argument because as far as I'm concerned, yeah, but he still played the part first. When you go to see the band live, there's a drummer playing the drums like it is on the recording. Does it sound exactly the same? No. But at the same time, like, even the song itself, in a lot of ways, won't sound exactly the same because you have your effects set up a certain way, and it's a very, like, everything in, like, your studio environment is controlled. Whereas in a live environment, you don't have that much, like, control. Now, some people may also use some, like, backing tracks because some people may have two guitar players, and then they might record a backing track for, like, a tertiary guitar part. So each guitar player is playing parts live, and then they've got, like, maybe some backing rhythm track or something. Because they're doing some dueling leads, but they still want a rhythm part. I'm okay with that. I don't mind, like, samples and, like, doing some programming or whatever. But I do like to see a band play live. I think that's the big thing that's the difference between trap metal and most metal and why fans aren't, or a lot of, your typical like modern metal fans aren't into trap metal, because it's a vocalist doing something, not a band. And most of society is obsessed with a star. And it's really always been that way, because even with like bands back in the day, the band really was like one, maybe two of the members were really huge. Like Aerosmith, it was Steven Tyler and to a degree Joe Perry, but really like long term, when you think of Aerosmith, you think of Steven Tyler, the vocalist. The Rolling Stones. People might be able to name Keith Richards, their guitar player, but who are people really thinking about when they think about the Rolling Stones? It's Mick Jagger. A lot of times it's the front man. Van Halen. It was named Van Halen because it was started by the brothers Van Halen, but everyone thinks of Eddie. And maybe David Lee Roth, who was one of the best frontmen of all time. It's hard to forget. It's like you can't forget about David Lee Roth. But everyone really thinks of Eddie Van Halen. And for popular music, it's easier for one person to get popular than a group of people. But for a lot of metal fans, there's this camaraderie of getting good at your instruments, making something together, and then presenting it together. Like, that's what's cool about it. I'm sorry, like, I don't really like this, or I don't like the idea of having, like, this whole track recorded and produced or whatever, and then you see it, or someone performing on stage doing the vocals, and it's just music. Like, that, I don't really find that entertaining or interesting at all. And maybe the majority of the world does, but I don't. I mean, it's cool to see like some of these like individuals who are amazing singers. Like, or like even growing up, like Justin Timberlake's an incredible, talent. But I'd much rather watch, go to a show and watch 5 different bands who aren't nearly as popular perform and have a good time there than like I would pay money to go see like Justin Timberlake. I'm just not interested in it. I can recognize the talent and not be interested in, spending my money or spending my time on it. So anyway, so if somehow Finn McKenty, you ever see this, it's like, love you, man. Your content is awesome, but like and I get where you're coming from a little bit with the trap metal thing, but I don't know. I would say that a lot of people who are interested in like, metalcore, deathcore, hardcore, post-hardcore, all like those different stuff. Like, I think we're just not interested in it because it doesn't appeal to what appeals to us. Maybe. I mean, obviously I can't speak for everyone. But if we're gonna talk about the scene as if we can speak for, different segments of the scene, like I can say I know a lot of people who approach music the same way I do, because I used to play in bands with people who had fairly similar opinions, and we all were drawn to the scene for pretty much the same reasons, got the same stuff out of it. Like, it's hard to find camaraderie in one person. Like seeing this sense of belonging. I'm not looking up on stage at a superstar. I'm looking at to me, like, especially for my bands, it's like, I'm looking at a group of friends, like, I'm looking at a brotherhood, like, creating something together to share with other people. That's what I think of when I think of, like, music, is like, I'm sharing part of myself. And not that these guys making this stuff on their own, like, that they're not doing the same thing, but there's something about, like, that brotherhood of being in a band and making something together. That's just really cool. I don't know. So with that being said, I think I'm going to wrap up the stream. I think we've gone plenty long enough I've been trying to limit my show a little bit in time, so it's a little more digestible after the fact. So, anyway, thanks for tuning in today. This has been Blind Eye Live. As you can see, I'm experimenting a little bit with content. We'll see where that goes. I will catch y'all tomorrow. I will probably start the stream earlier, so as to have it out of the way for tomorrow evening, because I've got stuff going on. But yeah. So I hope y'all. That was a weird thing to do. Cha. I hope y'all have a great rest of your Monday. I will see y'all tomorrow. Please like, subscribe, bell, comment. I read those.